Hi, this is Larry Aylward, Editorial Director for Superintendent Magazine, and welcome to this podcast. My guest today is Brad Aldridge, a product manager for John Deere Golf. Brad works with project teams to deliver new products for non-mowing golf maintenance equipment, including grinders, sprayers, heavy-duty utility vehicles, aerators, and bunker rakes. He graduated from the University of North Carolina with a Bachelor of Arts in Economics and a minor in Business Administration, and he also holds an MBA from the University of Florida. Brad is going to answer some questions about maintaining reels and bed knives. Welcome, Brad.
Thanks, Larry. Good to be here.
Brad, golf course superintendents realize that the key to proper cutting is to have a sharp reel and bed knife. But how do they know when to backlap and when to grind?
Larry, as you know, there's probably over 30,000 golf courses in the world today, and probably just as many different philosophies on how to maintain cutting units themselves. Some of those practices include backlapping as a routine maintenance program, while others utilize a grind-only program. If a grind-only program is used, it's typical to grind whenever you notice a decrease in cut quality. Superintendents or technicians during their daily ride on the golf course may notice that the grass is not sheared off properly, which is one of the first signs of a dull reel and bed knife. They may see some browning on the tips of the grass, a shaggy appearance, or sometimes just another type of objectionable cut. But even before that, they may notice in the shop that a reel won't cut a piece of paper, a sure sign that a grind is needed soon. Some courses will schedule a regular grinding routine, but cut quality or setup is usually the initial indicator of a poor quality of cut and a need to grind. Backlapping, on the other hand, is a maintenance practice that is normally done on a routine basis. Most customers will choose to backlap weekly or every other week, depending on what type of mower they have and what they're trying to accomplish. Backlapping is a quick process and extends time between grinds. The key is to find a routine that saves time and leads to less grinds throughout the season. Customers that backlap may not see a deterioration in cut quality for a long period of time, if done frequently enough, or until the time comes to grind.
Gotcha. And Brad, is there a misunderstanding among superintendents of what backlapping is?
I believe so, Larry. Backlapping should only take a few minutes at the most. We often hear stories of courses backlapping a machine for 30 minutes and sometimes even up to an hour and a half. At that point, the cutting unit is at a point where only grinding can save the day. It should really take no more than 2 to 10 minutes to backlap a fairway mower, for example. Once a cutting unit gets too dull to be restored to sharpness by backlapping, it has no choice but to be ground. Backlapping will never take the place of grinding. At some point, no matter how often you backlap, there will come a point in time where there is no choice but to grind it. But it increases the time between grinds and saves time for the technician. The key with backlapping is to make sure it's part of a regularly scheduled routine. Some courses that backlap every week are only having to grind on an annual basis, which saves time for other tasks throughout the year.
Okay, makes sense. Well, let's talk about grinding for a minute. Can you tell superintendents what all is involved with properly grinding a reel and bed knife?
Sure. One of the most important aspects of grinding the reel is to take the cone shape out of the reel. Reels, as you know, are a helical shape, so naturally they wear a cone into the reel with use. When reel to bed knife clearance is set with a cone-shaped reel, can cause unnecessary stress on the bearings and other components. Grinding the cone out should be one of the first goals. The other critical elements for grinding a reel include grinding a proper relief angle, if a course chooses to use relief, and establish the proper land area on the blade tip. In regards to bed knives themselves, it is important to properly grind the top and the front angles.
The angles. Why are the angles so important?
For the reel, the relief angle is important because it allows the grass to eject out of the cutting unit. For courses that also choose to backlap, it's also where the backlapping compound is held. Without a relief angle, it is nearly impossible to backlap a reel, as there's no place for the compound to go. The land area at the tip of the blade plays a role in how much drag there is as the blade passes across the cutting unit edge or across the edge of the bed knife. Too much drag can cause the machine to use more horsepower just to cut the grass. At Deere and other manufacturers sometimes have a similar recommendation. Our land area is 1 millimeter with a corresponding 20-degree relief angle. But the customer should certainly use a practice that gives them the best results. Moving to the bed knife, the correct front angle allows the cutting unit to stand up the grass prior to cutting. An improper front angle tends to push the grass over, lay it down, and you can have a bad quality of cut. And finally, the top angle on the bed knife provides clearance for the grass to eject after it's been cut. In addition, it works with the front angle to form the cutting edge. So both of these angles must be maintained properly for a premium quality of cut.
Gotcha. And Brad, what other important aspects do superintendents need to know about the grinding process?
Well, Larry, an area that often gets overlooked is what to do with the cutting unit after it's been ground. As we talked about a little bit before, backlapping won't replace grinding, but grinding may also not be sufficient to replace backlapping either. After grinding, it's important to match the reel to the bed knife. These are completely ground separate from one another, so they should really be honed in together for best cutting performance. This can be accomplished with a quick backlapping to establish the same cutting plane for both components. Also, after the reel is ground, a burr often forms on the back side of the reel blade, and that burr, when mowing, can wear off quickly. When the burr goes away, the cut quality normally decreases. So it's important to remove that burr from the back of the reel blade and restore it to a precise cutting point. Backlapping is the quickest and easiest way to accomplish this.
Brad, I want to thank you for taking the time to provide some great information about maintaining reels and bed knives. I'm sure superintendents are going to take a lot away from this interview and the information you've provided here.
Thanks, Larry, for the opportunity to do this.
This is Larry Aylward with Brad Aldridge, and thanks for listening to this podcast.